In this video, you're going to learn how to compress your drum bus properly to get more punch, more glue, and more control. This is a very essential part of creating a modern rock drum sound, both having your normal drum bus compression and also a parallel compression bus. And this is a technique I've used and still do use on every single mix that I do. So here is HCMS Mix Coach Roll Off to show you how it's done.
All right, let's hear the song that I'll be using here. I'm gonna solo out these drums here and show you the compression settings for both the regular drum bus as well as the parallel compression drum bus. And by the way, we actually have this free mixing cheat sheet which you can download here, which will give you proven go-to starting points for EQ and compression settings on every single track in your mix. So not just the drums, but guitars and vocals and everything. You can grab that at mixcheatsheet.com or using the link below in the description here. All right, let's hear these drums. Alright, quickly I'll show you just the routing here in a quick second here. So this is my drum bus and my crush bus all the way at the end of my session. I have some kick tracks which go to this kick bus. That kick bus is routed to the drums bus. Same with the snare. I've got a live snare and a couple samples. All of these end up on this snare bus here, and that one is routed to the drums bus as well. Same with toms. My toms bus is routed to the drums bus, and then the cymbals and the rooms. The rooms in this case are just a reverb track because the band did not record room mics for this particular song, which is fine. But all of these end up on the drums bus as well, which is again located at the end of the session. That is where all of that compression is going to be happening. And then we have this crush bus as well, which is that parallel compression track which I was talking about earlier. So all of the drum shells will have a send to the crush bus. So the kick, the snare, as well as the tom buses will all have a send to the crush, which is the parallel compression. I'll just quickly mute that and we'll focus on the regular drum bus compression first. As you can hear, there's quite a bit of the actual drum sound coming from that crush bus, but we'll get into that later. Alright, let's check out the regular drum bus compression first. I'm using the Blackshot Audio plugin drum bus here, so I'll show you this plugin first, and I'll show you what I'm listening for when I'm dialing this in, and then I'll also show you the exact same thing on a different compressor plugin, which will have a little bit more visual guidance on the attack and release settings, so you know a little bit more what's going on behind the scenes there. So let's bypass this and see what is happening here. Okay, I'll play you this again, and what I want you to listen for is that when the plugin is bypassed, the kick, the snare, the cymbals, they all sound a little bit more as like separate instruments on their own. They're not really working together just yet. And as soon as I engage the compressor plugin, it really sounds more like one cohesive drum kit that is in the same room and it's just all working together nicely. The levels get evened out a little bit. And it just provides glue. I'm quite literally just using my own preset for this plugin, which is called Sticky Shells. Sticky as in glue, right? That's exactly what I'm looking for here. We do lose a little bit of the attack when we engage the compressor, but that is okay because we still have that parallel crush bus coming up as well. So let's play this again and listen for that glue when I engage the plugin. It is fairly subtle for sure. This is not like the heavy lifting compression. This is really just like that final maybe 5 or 10% finishing touch on the drums here. So it's not a massive difference. Let me just crank up the compression here so that you can really hear what is going on a little bit more. See, as soon as I really crank it up, then we really start to lose a lot of the attack, and it really starts to sound as if it's really squashed. So I'm looking for a little bit of that squash, right? Which again, that is that glue that I'm looking for. But I don't want to like lose all the attack and just make it sound like a roll of duct tape, you know? So to me, that is pretty much the sweet spot where we still have plenty of attack, but we still get that cohesion going on and that glue. Now, if we were to do the exact same thing on a different plugin here, I'll show you the attack and the release settings and basically what it's working, how it's working behind the scenes here. So it's not quite the same sounding, but this is as close as I could get it with this particular plugin. So if we talk about attack and release settings here, the attack is kind of on the medium to slower side here with 30 milliseconds, which means that it will let that first initial, drum attack, I guess, it will let that through uncompressed, so untouched, and then it will start compressing the sustain, which theoretically will mean that it gives you a little bit more attack and a little bit more punch. And then the release setting is actually the most important on this particular compression, because if we go too fast with the release, then it will start sounding very pumpy, and that is not giving you that glue sound which I was describing earlier, but that will just, give you a ton more punch and a ton more energy, which on this particular compressor, I'm not really looking for that. I'm just looking for that glue. However, if we go too slow on the release, it will be too gluey. It will be very squashed sounding. It's best if I just let you hear this in action. So first, let me just play this again with the medium release setting, then I'll go faster. See, now with the faster release setting, we're getting a little bit more of that pumpy sound going, and it's just a little bit more punchy, which again is not really what I'm looking for here. And what happens if we go slower? Then we really start to lose a lot of the attack of these drums, and it starts to sound very like squashed and very too much evened out in volume, if that makes any sense at all. And then again, when we bring it back to a medium release time, then we get the best of both worlds. We still have some of that attack, and we also have that glue, which again is exactly what I'm looking for here. Now let's go to the crush bus. I'll just keep the drum bus compressor on. I'll mute the regular drum bus, and we'll just listen to the crush bus in solo for a second. So it's mostly really the snare that I'm trying to emphasize here. The kick is being sent 12 dB less to the crush bus, while as the snare, I'm pretty sure, is just at 0 exactly. So with the crush bus, what I'm looking for is just a crazy amount of extra attack. Which is on this drum bus plugin, just the slammed mode. I'm compressing quite a lot here. Although you don't want to do too much, because then again, it will start sounding weaker instead of stronger here. So what I've got going on is just a whole bunch of compression, as well as this attack setting on the drum bus plugin. I'm pretty sure that this is more like a transient designer function behind the scenes in this plugin, but I'm not exactly sure what is happening. All I do know is that as soon as I open it up, I get more attack, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Just all attack, no sustain. I just want that initial transient to sound as spiky and pokey as I can get it with this plugin. Again, if we were to replicate this on a different compressor plugin, you can see that the attack and release settings are pretty different from the regular drum bus. Here we go. Let's just hear this in action. So the attack is quite a bit slower here. It's 44, you can even go 50 or 60 milliseconds, which means, again, you're just letting more of that initial attack of the drum hit come through untouched, uncompressed, and then it really starts to slam down and lower the volume, basically, of the sustain of that particular drum hit, which, again, in comparison will give you more of that attack versus less of that sustain. The release is very fast on this one. which in this case, I really want that pumpy sound. I want that compressor to slam down on that sustain of the snare hit and then come back up right away so that it's ready for the next snare hit to come in, right? If we go slow on the release setting, again, we just lose a ton of power here. So fast release on the crush bus here. That's basically the behind the scenes here. If we have both of these compressors engaged, we're getting basically the best of all worlds, which is why I wasn't too worried about losing some of the attack on my regular drum bus, because the crush bus is fully making up for that again, right? But the regular drum bus, I'm looking for that glue. I'm looking for that cohesion. I'm looking for all these like separate drum shells and all these like cymbals that are kind of floating on top of these shells to sound more as if they're like one instrument. And then with the crush bus, what I'm really looking for, again, is just way more attack and energy and punch. And so that gives you the best of all worlds. So just to quickly summarize the settings for these drum bus compressors, on the regular drum bus you'll have a medium attack and a medium release, looking for that glue, and on the crush bus you'll have a very slow attack and a very fast release, just looking to maximize that attack and that impact. Alright guys, I hope you liked this video. I hope you can now dial in your own drum bus compressor settings with ease and you know what you're aiming for a little bit more. If you want to see more compression settings, but then for kick and snare specifically, like on the direct channels themselves, then check out this video next, and I'll see you in the next one.